and die. This is going to be two parts. I'm going to first show you how to use the drill press, put a drill bit in the drill press, and then I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to show you how to cut the threads with the tap and die. This is just a tiny piece of angle iron, and generally when you're cutting threads, you're going to have something that's at least 1/8 of an inch thick. You don't want thin sheet metal because there won't be enough threads for anything to actually work. If it has thin sheet metal, use a pop rivet. If it's thicker, you'll use a tap and die. So right now I'm just going to show you tap. This is essentially drilling a hole and cutting the threads so that I can take a bolt and bolt directly to a random piece of metal. This is a 1/4 bolt. That means it's a 1/4 inch with 20 threads per inch. So that's the type of bolt. This set is a pretty extensive set, which has standard and metric taps and dies. So if I'm cutting, I can cut this, right? I can take a piece of 1/4 inch rod, and I can take my die, and I can cut threads at 20 per inch if I use a 1/4 20 die. If I want to drill a hole, I'll use a tap. So I drill a hole and I tap. So this is essentially making my nut. That's essentially making my bolt. Does that make sense? Or I can just go to the hardware store and get bolts at 1/4 20 and come over here and tap into the metal, which is more frequently what we're going to do. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to the drill press. I'm going to show you guys how to use the drill press to drill a hole. And then we're going to come back over here and we're going to cut the thread. My drill bit is going to be smaller than my tap. So if I have a 1/4 inch tap, then I want to have a smaller than a 1/4 inch drill bit, which in this case is 7/32. One step below 1/4 inch is 15/64, which would probably work, but it's not going to give you as deep of a thread, so it will strip out easier. So 7/32 with a 1/4 inch tap works well. So we'll take this over to the drill press, and I'll show you guys how to drill a hole. We'll come back and tap some threads. So we could take this and we could take this we've cut the hole. We could take it and put it in the vise if we felt we needed to do that. You want to line this up, and you want to, this has a bit of a taper to it. The way you put this in is very similar to the way you put a drill in a drill press, but this has 4 arms or 4 teeth to the chuck, and it has a square shaft, right? So I'll select from my whatever thread I want, whatever thickness and whatever number of threads per inch, and I'll tighten this down, and it'll hold onto that square shaft nice and tight. It allows you to, I just usually do hand tight, but it will allow you to get a wrench in there and tighten it down even more. So what I'm going to want to do here is I'm going to want to set it in. It's tapered, so it kind of fits in. I don't know if you can see that. And then I'm going to start to twist it. It's going to start to bite. You can feel it biting in. It's trying to cut. So that has now been, it's biting into the metal. So what I generally do is I back it up and clear that little bit of metal out. And then I'll come back in, and I'll cut about a 1/2 turn. You can see it's starting to come out the other side. And then I'll back it up and clear those chips. So
you have to use oil when you're tapping it?
Yes, so this is already covered in oil. It's a good ask. Eddie was asking, does it need oil when you're cutting it? You do want to use oil. It's just going to make things a little easier. So I'm going to go in about a 1/2 turn, and then come back to clear the chips. Go in about a 1/2 turn, come back to clear the chips, so on and so forth, till I can just screw this in like it's a bolt. So now it's loose, I can do it with my fingers, and it's been cut. Now you can see, because I didn't put it in a vise, it's at an angle. So now when I go to tighten this down, I'm not gonna have a perfectly flat head of my bolt. So with this one, I had it in a vise, and it goes straight up and down perfect, nice and perpendicular. Versus this one, I came in at an angle. And you can choose to do that if you need on a certain piece of, a certain application, you might need to come in at an angle. So know that when you're cutting these threads, whatever direction this is going, when you're cutting the threads, is going to determine the direction of that bolt. So now I can take, and because I chose a 1/4-20 tap and a 1/4-20 bolt, I can thread it right in. And then all I need, if I want to connect another piece, is to drill a 1/4 inch hole in whatever other piece of material is, or a hole slightly larger than 1/4 inch, because this is 1/4 inch. And then I can bolt whatever I want to this. Tap and die. Does that make sense? Any questions? All right, done with that.